What's going on, everybody? Now tune into the Re-Up podcast. With me today, as always, my co-host Hector61. And this afternoon, we have another special guest joining us live on Zoom. She's a young media personality who took her love for media and entertainment into working behind the scenes for one of America's biggest TV networks. She landed her first gig directly after college, working for ABC, being on sets for shows such as Good Morning America and The Chew. After a two-year run at ABC, she crossed over and took the position at a sister network, Telemundo, where she is currently located. Her journey has allowed her to become within a room with the most valuable actors, including celebrities like Andy Cohen, Anthony Anderson, Yara Shahidi, Rosalind Sanchez, Joel McHale, Michael B. Jordan, Freddie Highmore, and way more. She's here to tell us. More about her career, about how COVID's kind of like changed the whole communications genre in general. So let's begin it up for Elizabeth Bagu, ladies and gentlemen. How's it going, Liz? How are you?
That was a good intro.
I appreciate it. Thank you. No, we definitely try. All right, so so how's everything been going so far as of COVID? Because right now it's not just COVID that's pretty much kind of like pausing everything, it's also the protests and everything. So how is that kind of like related to you working like on a day-to-day basis?
Okay, so I actually started at Telemundo right in the midst of COVID.
Yeah.
Never stepped foot into the office other than interviewing a few months back.
Right.
So I only met my team once in person.
Okay.
Everything else has been virtual.
Right.
That means training has been virtual, meetings, like really getting into what it is for marketing, everything is virtual. So as for communication, like you really have to over communicate right now, especially during these times, like you said, with the protests and what's going on in the world in itself, not
right.
just the work that you have. I started a whole new career. I was in sales when I was at ABC, and now I'm in marketing, which was always the goal. So not that COVID overshadowed the opportunity that I have now, but a lot of things have definitely slowed down because of it. Working from home has been definitely challenging. Learning the lingo of marketing and what do I have to do on the day-to-day has been challenging, but thankfully, I have a really great team who is patient and really helps me out.
All right, perfect. Yeah, no, I kind of feel you because I started an internship really recently, and I only got to meet the team like within the internship for like about like a month or two, and we were just getting started. And they told me, "Hey, listen, by the summertime, we really like need you, like like for work and stuff like that." It was kind of like learning because I was back in February when I got it. So yeah, so right, it's just kind of weird because like I had the whole year kind of planned out. And then out of nowhere, like everything's just kind of like on pause. And even right now, like as things are supposed to be going, kind of like as New York City is supposed to be reopening and stuff, things are still on a pause. So with that being said, like how do you still keep busy or how do you still like keep productive during your time, like with Telemundo and with like personal stuff in your life?
I mean, COVID has taken so many things away from us, but one thing that I think it can't take away is creativity. Right. Like you have to get those creative juices flowing somehow.
Yeah.
I'm in now a really, really creative space. So I have to keep up with social media, you know, all the cool things that other brands are doing and how can we mimic that, or elevate it on our platform, especially since we're targeting Hispanics. And then on a more personal note, I mean, it sucks not being with my friends and family because I'm in Brooklyn and in an apartment, but reaching out to your friends, making sure they're good during this time. Mental health is super important around this time, always, but especially around this time. I recently just got a kitty. I got a little kitten.
Nice.
So she's keeping me busy.
That's perfect. Yeah, I have 2 cats of my own, so that's good.
I was gonna ask, Elizabeth, you actually said something interesting right now in the intro. You said, and we're gonna delve into that along the interview, but you said that you were in sales at ABC. Can you tell me just like briefly, like what you had to do, like a little bit, describe what that was like?
Yeah.
That kind of interests me.
Yeah. So sales in the sense of it wasn't like commission based at all. Like it's really just dealing with the commercials that you see on ABC and Freeform. I dealt with post sale, so a certain amount of money, say like $1 million, was brought into ABC, and they wanted to advertise on the network within specific shows.
Okay.
And I would deal with the back end of that, and making sure it runs well, making sure that, you know, they're getting that bang for their buck.
Okay.
But again, it wasn't commission based because it's ABC. You know, they're throwing money at you. Really,
right.
Thousands of dollars at you. It's just maintaining that in the system. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was amazing, obviously. But before we delve more into your career, I have to let this be known. We've seen over the years how police brutality has affected minorities, more specifically the African American community. But what was your initial reaction when you saw the events that transpired almost a week and a half ago with the unlawful killing of George Floyd?
I mean, you hear about it, but it's so different to see it and to have it replay in the media over and over again.
Absolutely.
I consider myself Latinx. I know I have Black roots in me. I'm Puerto Rican, but I know somewhere now I'm Black. So, and of course I have Black best friends, Black coworkers. It's just, it hits home. It's sad, and I'm so happy that we're seeing, even if it's little changes, we're seeing some progress. I still think we have a long way to go. But yeah.
Yeah, and that's great that you say that, because over the last like week and a half, almost two, you know, you see the movement going on. And I'm not gonna lie to you, I've seen this movement. You know, we lived through the killings of Trayvon Martin. You know, we've seen all the deaths that have happened since then. And with this latest unlawful killing, it's only showing that there has to be a change here in the United States. This can't go on forever. And I think that the movement, I've never seen it like this. Well, stronger, like as strong as it before. I remember I was watching Joe Rogan's podcast, and he said, I'm not gonna lie to you, I think that this movement, it isn't as interesting because of how much of an effect it's taken on, not just here and all over the world, but it has a chance of changing the world. It really does. And I'm starting to see it myself. You know what I mean? At first, you're kind of we see this all the time. It's rhetorical. It reciprocates itself all the time. But now that I see it, I'm like, wow, this is really serious.
Yeah, for sure. It's different. I want to say it's different. I'm trying to hold my white friends accountable as well. I have to educate them on what it feels like, the struggles that we have, because that's something that they'll never know. They'll never know the struggles that a minority has. They can empathize with it for sure, but they can never really truly understand what it is to be Black in America, to be a minority in America. So I think this time, yeah, it's different. I see it full force. People are relentless. They're not giving up. And I love to see it.
That was great that you said that, because I mean, this is probably the greatest time to actually strike and actually make a point of view, that things are going to change. You know what I mean? Things are really going to change after this. And I was going to say, Mateo, last week when we had our guest on, we talked about how he had told us that he tries to almost like you said, empathize with white people could try to empathize with him, his friends, but he tries to hold them accountable as well. Exactly. And he also said, we all three of us talked about it. They kind of almost sometimes try to almost play off they don't know that white privilege exists. You know what I mean? And I have a problem with that.
It's not that they don't know. It's that they don't want to acknowledge it, I feel. It's like the elephant in the room. It's taboo for them. It's there. They just don't want to speak on it, you know? But I think now, know that you have white privilege, know that we are not equal to you guys. And it's definitely time for a change.
Telemundo has actually gotten under a lot of fire over social media. I don't know if you probably heard before about the way they've been covering the protests for the most part. Do you kind of see a bias a little bit sometimes within Telemundo or with the news in general, and how they're kind of covering the protests?
I think starting off the news in general, journalism, I don't know, they just like to focus on the bad. Look at the looters, look at the protesters doing violent things, and it's can we talk about why we're here, why we're protesting? Can we
Right.
talk about that? Can we get deeper into that? Like, yeah, I think that especially the older Hispanics who watch,
Mhm.
Univision or Telemundo, they're honing into that, and they have their own traditions and their own old way of thinking.
Yeah.
News outlet putting a black cloud over what's going on because it's a positive movement. It's necessary. It's needed. It's 2020, and we still had Christopher Columbus and Confederate flags waving around
Yep.
everywhere.
Exactly.
So yeah, I feel as though you need to educate the older, especially Hispanics, really sit down and break it down to them that like it's there's no time to be ignorant or to not look at the situation, face it head on, even if it is an uncomfortable conversation to have.
Do you feel like it's harder to teach the younger generation or like the older generation of Hispanics about like these type of injustices?
It's the older generation. I feel like with the younger generation coming up, you can mold them into what society needs to be like. But with the older generation, like they've been living for 50, 60 plus years.
Yeah, exactly.
And how it's always been, we've always looked down on the morenos and like just that type of speaking, that type of language, like it just needs to end. Absolutely.
I personally, it's great that you both have brought this up because I was watching CNN last night and they said something interesting. They had said that, funny enough, you had mentioned about the statues. Christopher Columbus, I think it was in Boston, that they had knocked down the statue and decapitated it. Yeah, I was like, yeah, this is getting out of hand. But I saw something on CNN that said, I was actually gonna say, you've seen in the media that people have caught fire for like whenever they sort of think, like for example, future Hall of Famer Drew Brees of the New Orleans Saints. Right.
Mm-hmm.
He went ahead and he put pride in front of everything instead of and that's the problem. Like you want to feel like some of these athletes because they have like such a prestigious like legacy to them. You know what I mean? But when he came out with his comments, I was shocked because I was like, out of everyone, you would have never thought that you would say something like that. And then, the backlash that he faced, LeBron James coming out and saying, until this day, which has been 3 years in the making, you still don't know why we're protesting. You still don't know why we're kneeling. You know what I mean? It's more than the killing of George Floyd or the killings that have been going on.
Beyond that at this point.
It's beyond that. So I think that it's important to talk about because it's like, once again, like we said in the beginning, it's the elephant in the room that nobody wants to address. Nobody wants to talk about race. But I think it's important because you can't walk around and act as though the person next to you has the same rights, let alone like opportunities as you. You know what I mean?
For sure. Can we also talk about the NFL and their crappy?
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's a part of it. Like they were wrong, but what about what happened? Like you're not really. It's a fake apology. Like you said what you said. You were against it. You chose not to educate yourself on the manner.
Exactly.
People thought that they were disrespecting the flag. Like that. No. And if anything, it was an army vet that told Kaepernick to kneel.
It was.
So it's
it was actually
that person fought for America.
Yeah.
There's no disrespect towards that. It's a deeper situation than just this George Floyd, and it's way, way deeper than just what's on the surface and what they're choosing to see.
I was gonna say you put it perfectly. I think moving forward, we're only gonna get stronger. The movement's not gonna stop. Oh, and the thing that I actually forgot. You said something important last week. One of our old friends and a guest that we previously had on the show, shout out to JL Shatat. He actually was shooting a video here in Uptown in Dykeman, and I happen to be from there. And he talked about how he felt like almost like a racial type of vibe when he came around here from the older generation. And he knew it from the start because he said that he tried to ask for gas and he kind of like felt like the person was trying to brush him off. And he had to ask somebody who spoke Spanish, could you help me out with the situation? And me, I took that and offensive because I was like, this is not just a good dude, but forget about all that. Nobody should be like that. So I had to go ahead and tell him my condolences. Being from this residency, and I feel like I represent this residency. I was like, bro, that's not us. That's not who represents us. You know what I mean? Anybody's allowed over here. That doesn't exist over here. So I think that people need to start also taking almost like what's the word? They have to start taking action, and when they see something, actually do something about it. Because like Martin Luther King said, if you see something racist and you don't do anything about it, that's a form of racism. So I think that's important, honestly.
And that everyone should be held accountable to that standard,
Mm-hmm.
Like don't be afraid to speak out if you see something, especially, with the older generation, Hispanics, or even the whites, hold everyone accountable. That's it.
Right. Absolutely.
Have you ever felt like growing up, or at least like going as you became a professional, have you ever felt some type of prejudice or some type of like discrimination, maybe through like the news industry? Because the news industry, for the most part, is still predominantly white. We've seen more minorities kind of like come up through the ranks, but for the most part, like in any other industry, it's still mostly Caucasian.
Man, I work in corporate America, and I know it's all white people. Like I pride myself. I'm a first generation college graduate. I came from the Bronx. I pride myself in knowing that I came into this industry without the networking or the connections that most, white or non-Black people have. Yeah, you feel it. You feel it in the interviews. You feel it day to day. You have to look the part. You can't come with your hair crazy. You can't dress crazy. You can't talk how me and you can talk. You feel it all around you. And I know that now, specifically my company is definitely trying to take steps to relieve that tension from any person of color,
right,
or any minority. But you feel it, it's there, and it sucks, but it's how you handle it. It's how you maneuver the situation as well.
Do you feel like Telemundo has been very inclusive when it's come to that when it comes to hiring people, not just who are Hispanic and speak Spanish, but people of like different colors and different ethnicities within the Latino community?
So although I just started in March, I interned at NBC before. And speaking for my team specifically, I have a Black manager who's a woman. I've never had that.
Right.
I've been post-grad 3 years now. I worked 2 different jobs prior to this in the media industry, and I've never had a woman as my manager, let alone her being Black. That's awesome to me. And then again, going down my org chart, they're Hispanic as well. So it's cool to have that inclusion. It makes me feel safer, I guess, or just comfortable.
Right.
You can say. I definitely think there's a long way to go when hiring in these big giant corporate America companies. And I set some time aside actually to speak with HR to figure out what's the best possible way to recruit, not just that person that got that degree from Pace or Syracuse or, those really big, well-known companies, colleges. How can we recruit at the entry level or the intern level more minorities, more Black people, because those are the people that are eventually going to hopefully one day run this company,
right?
And speaking of that, leadership needs to be definitely diversified. It's all white men and they're all older. So that's also where it starts, bringing in a woman, bringing in a Black woman, bringing in a Hispanic woman, a man, whoever it may be, into those positions of leadership. Those are the people that have the control and call the shots.
Absolutely. So let's talk about a little bit like your upbringings within like when you started growing up and like going through media. Like when did you first realize that going to media was your calling?
So when I went to college, I actually went in as a criminal justice major, and with the idea of trying to help my people in some type of way, because again, this is the same issue has been going on for years and years, and it's something that I really felt strongly about. But then I realized that I chose to go into marketing, and I chose marketing specifically for so many different reasons. But by chance, I actually just applied online and got the opportunity to work at Disney, and it kind of just fell from there. Now that I'm in this position, like I said, I just want to help as many people come into this industry who don't necessarily have the connections or the ability to. So I feel like that is now like my passion point, is to try to help people really come into here and make a difference.
Alongside that inclusion, Elizabeth, you said it before. Do you ever feel kind of backtracking a little bit? Do you ever feel like not so much that you have to fit in, but as a Hispanic woman, do you feel like sometimes like you were chosen because of your race? You know what I mean? Like they're trying to diversify the company, but it's kind of like almost like a ratings maneuver. Do you ever feel that way?
I mean, it's always been in the back of my head that like I'm a Hispanic woman, but I mean, they don't necessarily even know that. I mean, to them, when I say I speak fluent Spanish, they're like, "What?" And they're like, "I thought you were black," and it's like, "No, yeah, but I'm Hispanic as well." You know, like
I get the same thing, yeah.
They're almost shocked. So yeah, I mean, I feel like in the back of their mind, yeah, it is almost like feed a quota or something, but personally, I've never felt that way, that they're hiring directly because I'm a minority, but it happens. I for sure know it's there. I'm acknowledging it. You know.
Absolutely. I was also gonna ask, like you said, you majored in marketing when you got into college. You knew like from the jump that this is not gonna work out, or was it something that kind of happened like out of the blue, like you fell in love with in a sense communications and digital media?
Yeah, it kind of did happen out of the blue, like taking all of these law classes, taking these science classes because I was a forensic science major as well. Speaking to my business major friends and seeing what they wanted to do, hearing their passions, their goals. Yeah, I've always wanted to know what's the behind the scenes behind, TV. And I kind of really just fell into it. And but now that I fell into it, like I said, I'm trying to make a difference. I want to have more representation in these corporate America jobs that normally wouldn't hire or, wouldn't even look at someone who went to a small town college.
Do you feel like in media, it's really important to go to like a big time school? Because oftentimes when it comes to like the Wall Street or like for being a doctor or a lawyer, like, like the Ivy League schools are predominant when it comes to like, filling out the applications or like qualifications for those types of jobs. But in communications, do you feel like the bigger time schools get kind of more recognition?
It sucks. Yeah. I went to Mercy College and not many people even know where that is. When I interned, I would always ask people like their journey and, where they came from. And they would always say those big time schools, Pace, Baruch, Columbia, Syracuse, etc. All these really big names. And it definitely sucks. Like I feel like people who go to those community colleges, who go to those small time colleges don't get the recognition they deserve because they can do the same exact job these other kids are doing.
They're taking the same exact classes.
Yeah. Like it's just the opportunity is needed. That's it. They just need that opportunity to interview, to land that interview. And I'm 100% sure they would probably choose that person who went to that regular college over that big time school name.
Let's say someone goes to a smaller school, right? Because I went to community college first before going to a 4-year. Let's say somebody wants to, have your position or be like in media, like for Telemundo, ABC, NBC, any of these big time channels, right? But they're kind of intimidated by the fact that, hey, I'm coming from like a really small junior college competing against these big time, school graduates, right? Would you suggest doing stuff outside of school, like maybe having like your own podcast, having like your own Instagram page, like blogs, like extracurricular types of stuff that could kind of like, maybe like make your resume stand out compared to like a regular student?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what you guys are doing is so dope. Like
Thank you.
This is an awesome thing that you guys should absolutely put in your resume.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, do those extracurriculars. Go above and beyond. Doing those extra things is definitely eye-catching to the HR person or the hiring manager, and something you can speak to about your creativity, something you can speak to as a person. It should fuel like your fire to want to do more than, you know, what they're doing, which is literally just applying to places and that's all they're doing. They're not doing anything extra. So it sucks because it's like minorities need to do that extra step
Right.
to be equal with, you know, those other people. But honestly, it makes you different and you can speak to it.
Right. Absolutely. So have you ever maybe thought about like something like starting like a podcast, like a blog, or like do you have any like extra other like types of outlets that you like either have right now or do you plan on using in the future?
I don't have anything right now, but I was just speaking about this to my manager and my best friend, how I wanted to do some type of like safe space,
Yeah, that'd be
like
awesome.
blog or like Instagram, like or whatever it may be. Again, just to like elevate that representation of minorities, Black, white, whatever it may be, like honestly, just like a safe space for everyone. I don't know what that is just yet, but
Right.
in the works.
That's awesome because I feel like a lot of people definitely like these safe spaces and like the chance to talk about certain things. If they're led by powerful women, obviously of color, of you know that are minorities, that are Latinas who work in corporate America, like a big time company that kind of like fuels people and like motivates people to actually come through and speak because wow, like, because it kind of like motivates them to because it's actually something organized. You know how to talk to people. You know how it works. Like you know the news better than probably anybody of us. Honestly, probably knows about that. So I think like that would definitely be like a really good idea. So maybe like a YouTube channel or something like that.
Yeah, I'm working out the kinks of it, but like
Yeah,
it's definitely gonna come soon.
definitely. Yeah, because everyone has a YouTube channel now, so that definitely works.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was actually gonna say I think quarantine had a lot to do with it, but Mateo, I was gonna say we're not gonna name no names. Shout out to them, our guests, but I can say that since the quarantine, we've seen like a couple of our guests like they've worked even more at their crafts. You know what I mean? Because they've seen what we've done and they see how hard we kind of hustle and kind of go after it. And that's what we want to do. We want everybody to not just have a voice, but show their creativity because sometimes it's just people feel like nobody's listening to them. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. I think that's really important. But I was going to ask you, do you think that social media is actually changing the game? Because like you guys both said, yeah, you have these big schools, these Ivy League schools, even the D1 schools, the Syracuses of the world, that you got to compete with community colleges and people who go to small schools like you did. But I kind of compare it like Instagram. You can have 30K and you can have somebody with 4,000 followers. That person with 4,000 followers modeled for Rihanna, modeled for Nike,
Yeah.
did this, did that. While that person with 30K is still working on their mixtape. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's my point being, my professor told me, a lot of people coming out of college aren't coming out with skill sets. They're not coming out with anything. You know what I mean? They get the degree and don't know what to do. So do you personally feel like social media is also changing the game? Because we had a guest who said, yeah, LinkedIn is very important, but you got to be able to have that skill set. And you also have to have networking, but you don't have to be as big as you think you do. You just have to like raise your voice.
So in college, LinkedIn was like really big for like everyone. It's when it started to like really kick up. I made it my business to make sure that my LinkedIn looked so professional and like amazing to employers, but I actually requested to connect with the dean of the business school. And as I did that, literally got an email the next minute of him requesting to meet with me. And I actually got recruited into the business honors program because of how professional my LinkedIn looked. And he like noted that. He was like, you did a really great job with this and this, this, and this. And so, yeah, social media is absolutely changing the game. Like there's a plethora of connections and things that you can do to hone into your craft, to help someone else, to elevate yourself here. Yeah, absolutely. I agree.
You said you mentioned you graduated 3 years ago, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So how much has social media changed within a professional level, like since you started college and up until right now? Like, how much has it really changed, like from your point of view?
I mean, in college, I was definitely learning how to present myself, right? Whether that's on Instagram, whether that's on Facebook, because employers do look at your Facebook pages.
Yeah, definitely.
Or LinkedIn. Yeah, like it's been a process, but I think it's more important now than ever. A lot of employers look at your social media pages, everything that they can find, whatever's under your name, they're going to look at it. So yeah, presenting yourself and building yourself up is absolutely important. Yeah.
What type of skills did you learn at companies like ABC that have kind of molded you into the professional you are right now?
Adaptability. So I
Okay.
went through about three huge company mergers, right? So with ABC, it was ESPN coming on board.
Yeah.
It was Freeform coming on board. And then at the end, it was the Fox acquisition. That was crazy. That like messed with like everything. It really like unloaded everything. And then when I was at CNN, the whole Warner Media merger, and then now I'm at Telemundo. So adaptability is so important in any type of job, but specifically for me, it was super important. Communication is also another skill that I feel like it's noted. Like everyone should work on their communication skills, but in corporate America, you should over communicate each and every time. And then what else? I feel like my confidence has definitely gotten better with just speaking up to people, networking, communicating with people, talking to people. I feel like not many people are people. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
They're not their personality. Like my personality definitely grew within this industry because
Right.
you're talking to clients, you're talking to this, you're talking to that, celebrities.
Yeah. Was it kind of hard when you first got the job? Talking to like big time like executives and celebrities, like not getting like too intimidated or even starstruck with certain celebrities.
You really do have to like calm yourself down because you see these celebrities, you see these giant names who have been in your TV screen, who you see on social media. It's you can't seem like a fangirl because again, you're in a professional setting.
Yeah.
And your name is, the company's name is in your name. So it's like, you can't really do anything too crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely been a learning process there, but it's fun,
I was gonna say, I like how you snuck in that comment where you were like, I worked at CNN. You've been everywhere. But yeah, I was gonna say, so yeah, after 2 years there at ABC, you came and you joined Telemundo. So what came into that decision? And did you have to do anything with engaging more with the Spanish audience? Was it specifically that you wanted to branch out and reach them specifically, or is it something that kind of like just interested you?
So again, I was in sales, and sales isn't for me. I figured that out quickly. I kind of got stuck into sales for a while. Marketing was always the goal. So for about a year, I was looking to transition from sales into marketing, whatever that may have looked like. This opportunity kind of just fell into my lap again, where the HR recruiter had reached out and was like, hey, like there's a marketing role here. Like, would you be interested? And it just happened to be in Telemundo. Once I heard that, once I, researched into it and the ins and outs of it, I'm Hispanic. I grew up with my grandma watching Telemundo, watching the novelas. It's like a safe, comfortable space to be in. And it just fueled me even more that like I have a voice. I'm considering myself a millennial. I have a voice, I can try to elevate the Latinx representation, the voice here in my job. Attractive role to me as I was going through the interview process, to be closer to my Hispanic roots is something that I've never dealt with. I worked at ABC and all these great networks, but I've never worked with a network that specifically targets the Hispanics. And as I'm speaking to like my managers and directors, this position is a bit difficult because when you're pitching to a client or an advertiser, you almost have to justify why they should spend their money with Hispanics.
Right.
You really have to like make them understand that the Hispanic dollar is worth something. And I think that's the best part for me. Like I get to educate my advertisers, whether that's a Pepsi, a Warner Brothers, whatever it may be. I get to educate them on the Hispanic world and how important it is to have their product in this space, because Hispanics want this as well. And it can only benefit the advertiser.
Right before you joined Telemundo, I saw that you were working for shows like GMA, or you were on the set for The Truth. So you've met countless celebrities, figureheads, and I also saw that you got to go and see Drake at Madison Square Garden. You got to see Ariana Grande in her Sweetener tour. So tell us what those experiences were like, and what were some of the best memories you had over at ABC, and some of the best advice you got while you were working over there?
I mean, that was just part of like the perks of the job, getting to go to these concerts, getting to go to these sets and see the celebrities. And that was definitely probably the best part of the job. Because I would never get that experience anywhere else. So it was really, really dope that my managers and, my account executives gave me the opportunity to take clients to those type of events and to speak to them and just to enjoy it on its own. I definitely miss taking clients out. Right now in my job, I don't take clients out, but I do get to go to award shows and stuff like that. So whenever COVID-19 is over, can't wait for that. Some advice to anyone that wants to join like media, like you really do have to reflect on yourself. Like you really have to just to figure out who you are and then build your confidence. When you're these IPs, VPs, whoever the hiring manager is, they're going to see that you're nervous. They're going to see, all the interview jitters that you may have. But if you can speak to who you are as a person and how you can elevate them, how you can help them out, that'll be everything. So taking a step back and learning how to pitch yourself is important.
That's huge. So it's pretty much, it sounds like a passion driven type of career. Like if you can't be into it, like simply if you want to make money, simply if you want to be like, rich or famous and stuff like that, you have to actually be passionate for this type of career.
Yeah, I feel like hiring managers see through that shallowness of like the glitz and glam that you want to work here,
Right.
You do have to give a reason behind why you want to be here. Why should they choose you over this other person that's going for the same exact role that probably has the same credentials as you?
Right.
It's beyond just your resume. It's how you communicate. It's how you can say, I'm the best person for this job because XYZ, and I can do XYZ for you. That's basically what it is. They want to know, what can you do for me? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
People forget that alongside, sorry about that, Mateo. People forget that character comes along with that resume. You know what I mean? People forget that they're not just trying to see the black and white. Character comes a long way, and who you represent yourself as when you're taking on these type of corporate jobs.
Definitely.
Yeah, your personality. They want, like, if you can mesh well with them. Like when I got hired at Telemundo, my manager was literally asking me random questions of, like that weren't like the normal interview questions. He wanted to know, how would I react to this, situational type of questions. And that's how you get to know a person. That's how you get to know, if your personality matches with this, and it goes above and beyond just like that black and white piece of resume paper.
You mentioned that you have to pitch yourself a certain way. So would you want to tell us exactly how you pitched yourself to Telemundo or like to ABC? Like what made you kind of like stand out?
Like I said, I always go with that model of like, how can I help you type of questioning and answering with it. Because again, that's the bigger picture. Like they want to know how you can make their life easier.
Right.
So in a sense, you really have to say, like, these are my skills. Like, I'm great at this. This is what I've done at my previous job. And this is a transferable skill that I can bring to you. And, anyone can get the job done, but I can get the job done efficiently. I can get the job done, that goes above and beyond the standards of what you're normally into. They're also looking for a person that, like, again, like that can elevate their process. Like their processes are probably old and outdated. For you to come in and say, like, I acknowledge that you've done things a certain way for however long, but I'm here to bring a fresh, creative look to things. And again, like I'm a millennial, like they look to those types of people to help them with the company, whether
Right.
it's from the ground up or whatever it may be. But they're definitely out here looking for people to help change the company in a positive way.
Have you actually ever seen at Telemundo, but also while you were working at ABC, have you ever seen kind of like a marketing campaign or something that kind of like you were like in your mind you were saying, oh, I don't know, that might not work, like you might not reach the audience the way you think you will?
I feel like it happens all the time, but like one that I can remember was like that Kendall Jenner Pepsi.
Oh, that was horrible. Yo, that
ordeal.
was so bad. It's so bad.
That's just the one that jumps to my head right now. But you can understand maybe where they were coming from, but it was just tone deaf.
It was so bad.
Like,
it was a bad, horrible campaign.
Yeah, like, and with stuff like that, like you have to again have that fresh perspective, and I don't think they had that. I think they had all the people checking off, stuff on the list, and they're like, perfect, let's out to the world. And then there's the backlash. It's like you really do see those types of situations, and you're like, oh, like let me learn from that. Let me read the room, read the environment, read the climate, and then like pitch out your ideas and brainstorm really dope, creative ways to elevate a brand.
Yeah, because the one thing with like advertisements is that they get aged really poorly or really well depending on how you do them. So like 50 years from, like for example, like an old school vintage like smoking commercial, right? Where like doctors used to say that, oh, like this my doctor smokes these type of cigarettes. Like obviously they've aged so poorly now because obviously no doctor would ever prescribe like a cigarette or ever tell anybody to smoke cigarettes because now we know better, right? So with that, it's kind of like, that Kendall Jenner commercial, it aged poorly today. Like now, like that commercial is still popping up as like a joke. The memes come up, so you can only imagine like 20 years from now, like how bad and how like you said, how tone deaf those advertisements are. So like, do you work mostly like in advertising? Like, do you like have any pull in that, or do you mostly just do other types of jobs at Telemundo?
So in sales, when I was in ABC, I didn't have any type of say in their creative. I was literally just pushing out their creative into the network.
Okay.
But in Telemundo now, I do integrate marketing.
Okay.
And so that is literally what like, for example, if you're watching a show, right before it cuts to commercial, you see like brought to you by, or sponsored by, and you see like whatever the advertiser is. Yeah. That's like the lowest form of trying to integrate into the show or the network. But there's also things like if you see an actor drinking a Poland Spring bottle or a Coke, and they're drinking it or it's happening on the screen, like just those type of like active and passive type of integrations.
Yeah.
And there's like things that are super custom that we can do within the show or just within the network in itself. And that's what I do currently. So I wish I had the pull to help direct and create like dope advertisements or commercials. But for right now, I'm just integrating advertisers into our shows.
Is that something you want to get into as your career progresses, like being more in charge of like actual like commercials and actual kind of like more content?
That would be so dope. Like I always considered myself like a creative person, and to really, create a script and do this and do that. That would be so dope. So like production is maybe in the works, in the future, but I reached my career goal right now. So I'm trying to figure out like, what's the next steps? Like, what can I do next?
Who were some of the celebrities or kind of like figureheads or socialites that you actually were starstruck when you actually saw them in person? And is there any celebrity in general kind of has a little bit more clout than they deserve?
I was really, really freaking excited to see Anthony Anderson. And I let him know, I was like, I am so excited to see you. And I even had said like, oh, my mom is going to be so jealous because we love Anthony Anderson. Like, he's just a funny dude. Yeah. He looked at me and he was like, what? And he grabbed my phone and he started recording, and he was like recording to my mom.
I saw that video. Yeah.
And I'm like, this amazing. Is so dope. Like, there's celebrities like that who are so humble and so cool. And then you have celebrities that are like not nice at all, which I won't name, but they're just like, they're nothing like their characters on TV. They're nothing like how you perceive them to be. And that has happened a lot in the occasions that I've like interacted with some celebrities. As for like the clout question, I don't know. It's a good one. No, I can't think of one right now, but that is a good question.
How much patience does it take sometimes to handle these celebrities who are, again, not like Anthony Anderson, but like other ones that you haven't named that are, kind of like a pain in the ass to deal with? How much patience really goes into all that?
It takes a lot of patience because, again, you have to remember that you have your company on the line. Like, you can't say anything and can't react a certain way because you work for ABC, you work for, NBC, Telemundo. Like, you really have to keep your composure and be as professional as possible in the settings. But yeah, afterwards, you can definitely complain to your manager and your friends and
Yeah,
tell them, like,
definitely.
oh, blah, 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 was a horrible person. Like, and it's just funny to see and to talk about because, like, you never would think that the celebrity is so stank.
Right. Yeah.
The media world is also competitive. Like in the world you're in, it's competitive. So would you say that because you seem like you have a great support system and your manager and your boss seems to be great, you get a tons of support from them and your colleagues, but would you say that it can get sometimes competitive to the point where you feel like, oh, that person might be out to take my job, or does that never exist to you, like that type of
It's
atmosphere?
always a competition.
Yeah.
It's always a
Yeah. Okay.
competition, especially because I'm a woman. Like,
Mhm.
women get paid less. Like, that's just a fact. Like, it's always, they're looking to fill the next spot with a man and, or just someone else. It's always a competition on how you can, again, do better than them. Like, why should you get this job? Like, yeah, it's absolutely always a competition and trying to maneuver and figure out like how can you get that position over someone else. It's like it's difficult.
That's really interesting that you mentioned like the unequal pay gap, which has been a huge problem. I think like for such a long time, especially in corporate America, where everyone should be getting paid the same amount, be getting paid really well, right? But have
Mm-hmm.
you brought that up, or have you and other coworkers and colleagues, have you guys brought that up to like the ABCs or Telemundo or CNNs? Like, has that ever been like a topic of conversation, like a concrete topic of conversation at a meeting?
So pay was definitely a topic of conversation at ABC in terms of like, are we all getting paid the same? Because you're not allowed to really speak about
Right,
your
of course, yeah.
But I mean, it was said between a few coworkers, and we were wondering, like, well, why is that person getting paid more when I have more accounts, I do more work? That person was a guy, and it definitely pulls into question like what's going on and how are you guys like how are you even determining that this person should make more than this person
Right.
without even actually doing the work? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you get
Yeah.
hired, you get a salary, and that's just what it is. So that was definitely a conversation in ABC. I feel like now that I'm an assistant manager, I have more of a voice if I ever had a problem with it. But I mean, I'll always try to fight for what's right. And, if I'm doing a great job, I deserve that raise
Of course,
wherever
yeah.
that is. Yeah.
How do we move forward as a society when it comes to well, specifically being like the equal pay gap? Like, how do we like really equalize it? Like, what do you think are some solutions moving forward that actually could have put an end to this type of discrimination?
From leadership, like, it really does have to come from the higher ups. They have to acknowledge that, first off, how many women do you have in your leadership
Mhm.
program right now?
Yeah.
And then if you say little to none, like, okay, how can we, recruit them in? And then at the same time, all in the same breath, like, are they going to make just as much or more,
Right.
probably not, than what the other men who have been here for X amount of years?
Right.
All of that type of conversation, that movement is only going to come from up top. And it sucks because it's like little fish down here are struggling and they don't really know how to voice their opinions. But hopefully one day we can figure out a way that women can make just as much or if not more than
Right.
men.
Is there a union that's within like the communications industry? Because I know like in other fields, such as like teaching and education and other types of you know, uh, types of industries, there's certain unions that protect, workers and that protect, contractors and all that. Is there like a union type of thing like in communications, or there's none that you can really? see
I
right now?
don't think that there's one specifically, because I know that like it's always been an issue in the media entertainment industry. And if there was a type of union, I feel like we would have revolted by now.
Yeah. So yeah,
Um,
pretty much.
we definitely need one. Like that's
Yeah.
an amazing thing. Like we need like a support system to back up the unfair and unjust things that are going on.
Yeah.
So I mean, hopefully things will change. I just started off in my career, but I mean, I would love to get up to top SVP,
Yeah. Of
EVP,
course.
and make just as much as these other guys.
Right.
So,
So for example, let's say you get to that VP job, right? What would you do, like within your position or within your power that you know right now? Because obviously nothing's like concrete. You don't know what the position exactly is like. What would you do exactly to like minimize, like eliminate that pay gap, or maybe make things a little more equal for like every single contractor and worker?
See, the thing is that like the payroll and the salary isn't even like within a discretion of that VP or SVP. It's all HR. So
Gotcha.
it
Okay.
comes, they branch off to like billing and payroll and all that stuff. So that like, I mean, being in the position of power of being VP, SVP, definitely you have a voice, and I would absolutely speak to HR about that. Like again, you're not allowed to know the specifics of other people's salaries, but I need to know that this is a competitive salary,
Mm-hmm.
and I need to know that it's warranted. Like this person has a great resume,
Right.
and they're gonna work for me, and this is gonna be a great position for them, and then work from there.
Yeah, no, I feel like the pay gap definitely needs to be eliminated, because I feel like, especially nowadays, because I think a lot of journalists and people who work within the communications industry are under a lot of fire right now. Like you see journalists, right now going to protests being, assaulted by police officers, and they have, well, of course, nobody should get assaulted by police officers unless they're doing something illegal or wrong, or morally wrong, right? But these are people with press passes. They actually have like the press passes with them, and like people like big, and these big cameras and microphones. So obviously they're within the media industry, and of course the president's always speaking ill will about CNN, about Telemundo, about Politico, New York Times, like all these really credited news sites. So it's getting like physical abuse and also slander and mental abuse. So I feel like within these times, and of course with COVID and everything, the pay that pay gap should definitely be eliminated. And because what exactly? How are you really thanking the people, the media, who are delivering information, incredible news sites, and we're not even paying women or men equal within the same industry?
It's a huge issue, and I feel like that's another issue that we need to tackle along the lines, down the road. But yeah, definitely a huge issue that I'm not for.
When you hear the president slander, like CNN, Telemundo, these other news sites that you've kind of like been in contact with, does that kind of anger you sometimes? Because like you actually work there, so it's not that you're just a fan of the news sites. You've actually worked there, and you know that what he's reciprocating and communicating isn't either one, polite, or two, even accurate. So does that kind of piss you off sometimes?
CNN. So I mean, he hates CNN. He's
Yeah.
always saying CNN is fake news, and blah blah blah, and always talking about the anchors.
Right.
They're not. They're basically saying that they're not smart, that they're not saying the right facts, and it's like they're just not saying what you want to hear.
Right. Exactly.
And Fox News, they do that.
Exactly.
He loves Fox News because Fox News is not fake news, and that's they're saying things that he wants to hear.
Right.
Working in CNN and seeing like everything and everyone around me kind of work and him slandering CNN, it definitely made me angry, because I'm like, these people are just stating facts. Like it is just facts.
Yeah. Exactly.
They're not, trying to sway it towards liberals. They're not trying to sway it any type of way. I think that CNN is definitely right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, some of their news anchors feel more passionate towards like the liberal side
Left
of things.
issues, yeah.
But I mean, it's just the president is ridiculous.
Right.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, he just finished sending a cease and desist to CNN, asking them to take down what they wrote and give a public apology because he saw that the polls had by CNN had seen that he was down by like 20% to Joe Biden, who's the presumptuous, as we all know, is going to be the Democratic nominee. But he got so mad that he sent a cease and desist, and I couldn't stop laughing last night.
So that's hilarious.
I was like, this dude does not. I mean, I've laughed at a lot of stuff that Donald has done, but man, I mean, like he gets funnier by the day. Like he really does. I don't know how to describe it.
CNN actually skews right in the middle towards like conservative and liberals. So it's interesting because conservatives are watching CNN. You know, they're watching the content. And of course liberals are loving it because CNN is not necessarily feeding what Trump wants to hear. Yeah. So it's interesting to hear that he did that because these are conservatives also voting, you know, it's not just the liberals, it's the Republicans as well. They are voting against you. Right. And it's a hard pill to swallow for him. But hopefully we all get out there and vote and do what we have to do. Right. No matter which way you go, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, like just get out there and vote.
Being a professional within the media industry, how important is it for you specifically to vote, or for you telling other people to vote?
Oh man. Again, I worked with CNN for like 6 months, like in the past year. But it's important, like going out in primaries, going out and just getting your voice heard. I've had to help a few of my friends and educate them on like this type of situation because they're like, oh, like if I vote, like my voice doesn't matter. And it's like, no, that's what they want you to think. Like that's exactly how they want you to think. They want you to think that you don't have a voice, that your vote does not matter. And that's not it at all. Like you're young and the changes and the effects are going to affect you. You know, like it's not like we were kids and when Obama came in to presidency, like we had no idea, we had no voting rights, like it was just whatever. Right. Now is when, you know, whatever the president does, it's going to affect you with healthcare. It's going to affect you with your work. It's going to affect your life, your day to day. So going out to vote now in November and all your primaries and your elections, it's important. Like absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, I was going to actually say that you brought up a great point. I think that that's the problem. A lot of people, specifically, I guess you can say the minorities or just in the middle class, people feel as though they're not going to be heard. They don't care about us. They're only going to really be after those that they consider the upper class. You know what I mean? So I was saying and thinking to myself, I remember 4 years ago when the elections were going on, and I remember the day before, old philosophy professor of mine said he kind of like said it to us how important that election was because it could really change the outcome of the future of the United States. And now we are here 4 years later, and I don't think it's a debate. You've got Republicans that want him out the White House. So it only can tell you so much of what he's done in these past 4 years. So I think that it is important that whoever you are, whatever position you're at, whatever occupation you have in the world, that you do go ahead and you encourage those close to you and your friends to go out and vote. Because I'm telling you, this November will also be a very, I don't want to say cataclysmic, but very important election. I think a lot of people could celebrate by the end of the night. If things go right.
It's pivotal. I mean, you see like celebrities too. I feel like I saw Offset. Snoop Dogg, I think also was going to vote. He had said he's going to vote for the first time. And it's like, yes, like that is a pivotal moment in the hip hop industry, the Black community, and everyone as a whole, that you're seeing these people voting for the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
Like we need that. We need more of that.
Yeah, especially Snoop, because, you know, Snoop's like, what, like 45 or like, you know, like approaching 50 is the first time ever. Yeah, well, I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, wow, that's bad that you haven't voted before, blah, blah, all this stuff. Well, first, and it's kind of like, it's more than that. It's more than, it wasn't like he was just like lazy and didn't vote. Like, one, he had like a whole bunch of like legal issues before that, you know, of course, like legal issues, of course, like get in the way of you voting. And that affects a lot of minorities, which a lot of people don't understand. And also, too, I don't think he felt representative, like ever. I mean, probably like other than Obama, like, you know, we had the Bush years. He lived during, you know, during Clinton, during, you know, like, you know, George H.W. Bush, like, you know, all these presidents that really didn't have, like, Ronald Reagan, like, all these presidents that didn't have, you know, like, the Black or minority, their safety or their voices with, like, you know, in mind. So I think now for him to, you know, finally say, like, hey, listen, even though I might not like how this country looks right now, and I probably don't want to vote, you know, that's not the first thing I want to do, I'm going to still do it to educate and still, you know, to kind of like spread positivity and spread, you know, knowledge towards younger
Yes,
generation,
he
which
has
is
a
huge.
platform for that. Like you saying that, you even stating that, like that should spark like light bulbs in everyone's head who either thought that they didn't have a voice or who haven't voted before to look into it, to look into, you know, who they need to vote for and how they can change and make a difference. So it's dope. I'm here for it.
Absolutely. I think also that relatability is a big it's a big factor. Everybody's got a story to tell. And I think like Mateo had just said, they a lot of people within the hip hop community, but within music, it's not just hip hop, have never felt represented, or they've never felt that any candidate or any movement has really related to their story, let alone their community story, where they're from. So I think it's important that these candidates go ahead and they relate to us who are the audience. Because I mean, at the end of the day, they're going to be nominated the leader of the free world. So I think that, yeah, like you stated before, this November will be pivotal and we've got to go out there and vote. I know I voted last election and I'm doing it this November. I can't wait, honestly.
November can't come fast enough, especially with what's going on, like our political climate, protests, everything. Like this just lit a fire under me. Like I
definitely
feel like I need to make some type of change, even if it's just one vote and it's little old me. Like I just need my voice heard in New York, even though New York is like a Democratic state, but still like popular vote, electoral vote.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think a lot of people, you know, will, like people in New York exactly are kind of, oh, you know, I'm not going to vote because it's always a blue state. It's been a blue state for a while. Who cares? Yeah, but still now, like you said, popular vote's a big thing. Of course, like popular vote was a big, very controversial within the last election with Hillary and with Trump and everything. How like everything kind of comes down to like such a minuscule and like stupid loopholes and everything. So we have to take advantage of, like, you know, like, literally everyone votes like matter. Like literally everybody's vote legitimately matters. All right.
Get out and vote. Where's watching?
For real.
Definitely.
All right. So, Elizabeth, right before we let you go, tell us a little bit what working at Telemundo has been like and how have you managed to stay active since quarantine started?
So, one thing I can say about NBC as a whole, because it owns Telemundo, with the COVID-19 situation, it was a very scary time. It was definitely a weird time to start a job, work from home, and then deal with like people are dying. You know, this is a very serious thing. It's like all around the world. It's not just here. So leadership at NBC, specifically ad sales, and then of course the CEO, have had these meetings literally daily since COVID started. Just giving updates on the company itself, giving updates on, you know, resources that they may have that you may not know of. I think that's something that the company is definitely trying to be transparent about. They're definitely trying to be transparent on, you know, when are we going to get back to work? If and when that happens, what is it going to look like, et cetera, et cetera. They're doing a great job in my eyes to make me feel comfortable. And then again, now with these protests, you know, NBC donated a specific amount to racial injustice. And they're again having meetings about, you know, how can we make this a safe, comfortable place for you? Because we acknowledge that this is corporate America. We acknowledge what's going on, the injustices that happen with Black people and minorities. Like, you know, what can we do as a company to make you feel safe or you know, just again, lessen the tension. Of course, there's a lot of stuff that they could probably do better, but I think for right now, the way that they're pivoting and maneuvering both these types of situations has been great in my eyes. I feel included, I feel heard, and that's not something that I can say about other companies that I've worked at. I'm not necessarily sure how they would have handled it, but my niche right now is that, you know, they're working towards it and hopefully things will get better.
Awesome. Hey, real quick, one more question too. I think it's really important for people that are kind of asking right now. Within the fact that we're technically like in a recession, you know, everything's kind of stay at home right now. For college graduates and people like me and Hector who are still like in college right now, how like for Telemundo, for like these other like media companies, like how is the hiring process right now? People are these companies still hiring? Like, how is that exactly still working?
Yeah, so I know I saw an email blast out. Summer interns have started.
Okay.
And they started remotely.
Yeah.
So weird that it's even happening, but yeah, they are hiring still. They're training virtually, and it's still happening. It's definitely a weird time. I'm sure people probably feel weird trying to apply online and not actually meet any of their hiring managers or anything. But I definitely encourage you guys. I mean, we're all at home. Like HR is at home. Like, like it's a busy time still, but it's not really. Like people can take the time out to speak with you or answer an email. So I think now is the best time to apply to things that you probably never would have. Because again, I feel like HR has all the time in the world now. Like they're not out in meetings in different places and different buildings. Like they're literally sitting down at their desks. So apply to all that you can apply to for sure.
All right, perfect. Hector, you got anything else for him?
Yes, I do. I was gonna say, okay, so what's one thing that we can expect from Elizabeth going into 2021? Because as you know, 2020 is canceled. It's been shitty. You know the rest.
2020 is definitely canceled. Wow, in 2021, again, like I'm trying to figure out this was my career goal for like so long. Now I'm trying to figure out again, like you said with quarantine, it definitely got you thinking like, what can I do better? Like, how can I? So me and my best friend got to talking, and I want to start a business. Like I want to invest in things. I want to have multiple incomes, like not just this great job that I have, but I want to do other things. Again, like you guys doing this podcast is great. Like it's awesome. It's a good time to hone in on your creativity, your interview skills, and to show this off in future interviews. So hopefully in 2021, I'll have a business. In 2021, hopefully, I'm always looking to get promoted. So hopefully I get promoted. And yeah, hopefully
awesome.
2021 is better than 2020.
For real. And that's awesome.
All right, it's amazing. So that's all the time we have for today. We want to thank you for joining us, spreading so much knowledge and everything, especially from like the actual media perspective, because I know a lot of times we get like this perspective from like artists and people who work in like magazines, who people do A&R for stuff like that. But it's good to get like, a good perspective within like someone within the media industry, because it's a lot of stuff going on. So it's good to kind of like get like a nice solid like opinion from it that everything's going on. So we definitely appreciate that.
Absolutely.
No, thank you guys for having me. This was amazing.
All right, no problem.
Great. Thank you.
All right, so this is the Rehab Podcast. We'll catch you guys next time.